I've seen people with big dreams lose their spark after just one failure. And I've also seen those with just a little faith and discipline light themselves up every day, like a candle unafraid of the wind. You know what the secret is? Motivation isn't inspiration. It's an internal choice. And in this video, we're going to uncover how to keep your inner fire burning even when it's dark and cold around you. If you want to learn practical strategies for staying inspired, even without outside motivation, watch this video till the end. Trust me, in the final part, we'll dive into a real exercise that could change your entire week. And hey, subscribe right now so you don't miss this moment of power. Have you ever wondered why some people give up after the first sign of trouble, while others keep going even when it feels like the whole world is against them? What keeps them standing when motivation seems gone, when results aren't showing up, and hope fades slowly, like the smell of morning coffee? I've asked myself that same question, because motivation, it's not always with us. It's not like the sun that rises every day. It's more like a fire in the fireplace. If you don't feed it, it dies out. One day, I heard a phrase that changed the way I approach things. Don't wait for inspiration. Act, and inspiration will come. And you know what? It works. Because motivation isn't something that shows up from the outside. It's born inside us when we choose to act, despite the fatigue, the doubts, and the silence. It's born the moment you say to yourself, today I'll do something, and then you actually do it. I believe the biggest mistake most people make is waiting. They wait for the right mood, for the wind to be at their back, for someone to come along and say, you've got this. But life doesn't wait. The world isn't perfect. And inspiration won't always be there. That's exactly why you need to learn how to ignite your own fire. I've seen ordinary people from ordinary families achieve greatness because they had the strength to keep going. They weren't the smartest, didn't have the best connections or resources, but every day they switched on their inner engine because they had a clear goal, a sense of responsibility to themselves, and an invisible power I call discipline of the spirit. In this video, I'll share how not to rely on external factors, how to tap into the energy within yourself, and what to do when it feels like the world is shouting, give up. We'll talk about how to think right when you feel like doing nothing, how to act when it seems like motivation has left your home for good, and most importantly, how to turn everyday exhaustion into fresh fuel for your goals. Because the truth is simple, my friend. If you want strength, create it. If you want to be inspired, act until the inspiration comes. That's the first step. And once you take it, everything else becomes easier. When I was young, someone told me, Jim, the most important thing is to know where you're going. But later I learned that it's just as important to know why you won't stop. And that's where motivation is born. It's not in books, not in quotes. It's in your why. And if you don't know your why, you'll burn out. Because without it, every struggle feels pointless, and every morning wake-up feels like a burden. I often say, motivation isn't a celebration. It's not fireworks or standing ovations. It doesn't show up with music. It comes quietly. It shows up in the morning when you get up earlier than everyone else and get to work. It comes when you choose the hard right over the easy wrong. It's built in your habits, your self-discipline, in your ability to say, I'll do this even if I don't feel like it. Friend, remember one simple truth. Motivation is not the source. It's the result. People wait for motivation to act. But that's flawed logic. You act and then you feel inspired. The moment you start, the mood follows. That's the law of action. And it always works. Ever had a day where you didn't feel like doing anything? But you forced yourself to begin, and suddenly everything started flowing? That's not magic. That's the power of the first step. Let's take a guy named Edwin Barnes, for example. He had no money, no experience, but he had fire, a real inner fire. He wanted to work with Thomas Edison, not for him, with him. And you know what he did? He didn't wait for the perfect moment. He didn't send letters. He hopped on a freight train and went to New Jersey. No invitation, no guarantees, just belief. Did he have motivation? Yes, but not because someone gave it to him, because he created it. His why was stronger than his fear. That's how inner fire is born, through a clear vision, the decision to act, and the discipline to keep going. Think back to a moment when you truly accomplished something. You didn't wait for the perfect time. you acted. And that's when the flow, the inspiration, the motivation came. Because it comes after action, not before. I always tell my audience, start, and you'll be amazed at how far you can go. The problem is, most people can't ignite their inner fire because they've been sitting still for too long. They're waiting for something to change, for life to get easier. But it won't. You have to change yourself, not the circumstances. And you know what else kills motivation? Comparison. We look at someone else's progress and say, I'm so far behind. But that's not true. You're not in someone else's race. You're in your own. And inner fire isn't a race. It's a journey, your journey. And if you take even one step each day, you're already winning. So now ask yourself, what drives you? Do you have a clear vision? Do you know what you want? Can you see the result that makes it worth getting out of bed an hour earlier? If not, sit down and write it out. Because without vision, you can't ignite yourself. Motivation lives where there's meaning. When you can see the outcome, motivation comes naturally. And you know what else? Small wins. People think motivation comes from big events, but it's born in the little things. When you make your bed, when you run for 10 minutes, when you don't open social media first thing, but sit down to work. Every one of those acts is fuel for your inner fire. Also, friend, there's too much noise around us. People shouting, here's the formula for motivation, here's the secret to success. But the truth is different. It's not about secrets, it's about habits. How do you wake up? What do you read? Who do you talk to? These little things build who you are. And if your day is built on chaos, it's no wonder your motivation disappears. Real motivation is born where there's structure, where there's a plan, a goal, and accountability. You can't expect a fire if you haven't prepared a place for it. So build your environment, cut out the noise, set your priorities, and then you'll see motivation return. A man once told me, Jim, I've lost my spark. I don't know what happened. I looked at him and said, maybe you just stopped moving. Because action is the fuel, and the more you move, the more energy you gain. So remember, motivation isn't a gift, it's a discipline. And if you want to keep your fire burning, feed it every day, with every action, with every right habit, and then it'll keep shining for you, even in the dark. People often ask me, Jim, how do you stay motivated every day? How do you avoid burnout? And my answer is as simple as it is deep. Don't count on inspiration, build habits. Because the kind of fire that burns long isn't sparked by random inspiration, but by daily effort. Quiet, disciplined, without the show. Once I learned a metaphor. Imagine your inner state is a fireplace, and if you don't throw in logs every morning, by noon the fire will die out. But if every day, even just a little, you add to it, even when you don't feel like it, even when it's cold or dark, that fire keeps the warmth. That's how motivation works. You don't need a blazing flame, you need consistency. True internal motivation comes from being accountable to yourself. Who are you when no one's watching? Do you get up on time? Do you follow through on what you promised yourself last night? That's what defines your inner strength. Because external control only lasts so long. But a person who can say, I said I would, so I will, has a well that never runs dry. I remember a man I met after one of my talks. He came up to me, shook my hand, and said, I started small. I just began writing down goals. Then I made myself wake up at 6 a.m. And now, 3 months later, I'm a different person. Not because someone was inspiring him every day, but because he became the one who supported himself. He became his own greatest ally. That's the essence. You can either be your own coach or your worst saboteur. And the deciding factor is habits, your daily choices. When you choose action over procrastination, when you choose forward movement over doubt. It's a choice. Simple, but powerful, and daily. There's a trap that many fall into, emotional dependency on the feeling of motivation. When they're in a good mood, they act. When they're down, they stop. But you can't build a house only on sunny days. You have to work through the rain, through the wind. That's the difference between a pro and an amateur. A pro works when they don't feel like it. That's why they get results. So how do you keep the fire going? I use a simple formula that's guided me my whole life. Schedule, ritual, purpose. Schedule means you know clearly what you're doing, when, and why. Without it, chaos. Ritual is your personal way of turning yourself on. It could be 10 minutes of silence, a quick journal entry, coffee alone, anything that connects you to your inner focus. Purpose is when you don't just work for yourself, but for something bigger. Your family, your mission, an idea. Because when your reason is bigger than you quit less. One of the most powerful habits to sustain motivation is reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I do better? It's not self-criticism, it's self-respect. You're lifting yourself to a higher level, daily, and that creates the feeling of progress. And progress is the strongest fuel for motivation. Another key, don't isolate yourself. You can't keep your fire alive if you're surrounded only by cold. Your environment matters. If you're always around complainers, doubters, people who don't take action, you won't sustain motivation on your own. So find people who are on fire, who support you, who are lit up by their own purpose. One more thing, plan ahead for low energy periods. They're inevitable. But if you're prepared, they won't break you. I always say, in hard times, don't make decisions, just hold steady. Return to your routine. Stick to what works, the basics. And when the wave passes, you rise again. Motivation isn't a constant flame. It pulses. And your job is not to go completely dark when things get tough. Your job is to reignite when light returns. And that's possible if you act from understanding, not mood, from purpose, not inspiration. And finally, be kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up for failures. Don't punish yourself for off days. You're not a machine. You're human, but a human capable of growth. And even if today wasn't perfect, it's not the end. It's another step on the journey, and motivation will return. It always does, as long as you don't give up. Let's pause for a moment. I don't want you to just listen. I want you to live this conversation, because motivation isn't just about inspiration. It's about the work you do within, work that begins with an honest dialogue with yourself. So right now, I'm asking you to stop. Grab a pen and paper or open a note on your phone. This is important because right now we're going to try to look at your life from the outside. Not as a judge, but as a friend, a mentor who genuinely wants to help. I'm going to ask you a few questions. And for each one, I want you to rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 means not developed at all, and 10 means I'm really strong in this. Don't rush. Be honest. This isn't about perfection. It's about clarity. Let's begin. Can you make yourself act, even when you don't feel like it? Do you have a clear why that inspires you? Do you follow a schedule that supports your productivity? Can you maintain inner focus when everything around you is chaotic? Are you able to start small to spark your motivation? Are you free from emotional dependency to take action? Do you stay consistent in your actions day after day? Do you have an environment that supports your growth? Can you encourage yourself during moments of doubt? Do you stay committed to your goal even when things go off track? Done? Take a look at those numbers. That's your current state, not for criticism, for understanding. Now here's the important part. Pick just one question where you gave yourself the lowest score. Just one. That's your growth point for the coming week. Not everything at once. Just one habit, one area, one direction. Now write the answer to this question. What can I do every day to improve this area by even just 1 point? Maybe it's a morning ritual, or an evening reflection, or a promise to take action for just 5 minutes a day, no matter your mood. Don't overcomplicate it. One simple action, repeated daily, because motivation, above all, is the habit of starting yourself. And if you train yourself to take action from a standstill, even when it's hard, your inner fire will never die out. Now, I want to ask you something important. If this video gave you value, if you felt something real here, subscribe to the channel. Not for the numbers, but so we can keep talking, so the fire we just lit doesn't fade in silence. Hit the like button, not as a formality, but as a sign. I took a step for myself. And if you're truly ready to go deeper, drop a comment. My habit for the week is share it. And know this, your comment might inspire someone else to begin. That's the power of motivation. When it becomes more than an inner flame, it becomes a shared fire. Because when we burn together, darkness doesn't stand a chance. And now we've come to the end of our conversation. But the truth is, nothing is ending. Because motivation isn't an event. It's not a video. It's a process. And that process is happening right now, inside you. The fire we spoke about today, it's not in books, not in borrowed quotes. It's in you, in your ability to say, I choose not to quit, in your determination to act, even when there's no light, in your morning habits, in your evening reflections, in how you speak to yourself. Because as I often say, success isn't an accident, it's consistency. It's when, instead of asking, where can I find motivation, you start asking, what can I do today to stay true to myself? Because now you know action creates energy, and energy is motivation in motion. Maybe you watched this video hoping for a spark, maybe you were waiting to hear something new, but let me tell you honestly, you already know enough. The issue isn't knowledge, it's decision. And that decision is to start. Start small. Start today. Start now. I want you to remember this one phrase. Don't wait for it to get easy. Start while it's still hard. Because that's where strength is born. That's where real transformation begins. Not where it's comfortable, but where it's hard and honest. So before you turn off this video, let me ask you again, who are you when no one's watching? What will you say to yourself tomorrow morning? And will you do what you promised yourself today? Because I believe you already have everything you need. You don't need to wait. You don't need to search. You just need to act. Now I'm grateful you took this journey with me. And if you feel it's worth continuing, stay with this channel. Here we'll keep lighting the fire again and again, but for now, keep it burning yourself and let it never go out.